Okay, it's a quick video for myself, Harvey Goldman. No cuts, no edits, no filters, and no hair. So for today's video, I want to talk about industries that profit from your poverty. So basically, if you're skint, it's probably not by accident. Unless you've got really out of control spending or maybe an addiction that you're feeding, it's probably not your fault. There are certain industries that thrive when you struggle. And in this day and age, they're doing better than ever. So let's have a think about it. Every time you take out a payday loan, every time you get hit with overdraft fees or you can't afford to fix your car and you use a credit card, someone's getting rich. And the spoiler is, it's not you. So let's get into it. So basically, credit card and payday loan companies, they're the scourge of the working classes. APRs are shockingly high, and I've actually seen, and Google it by all means, it's on the internet, it must be true. I've actually seen some over 1,200%. Now, if you were to borrow money on that basis, you are never paying that back. You're basically going to lose your car, lose your house, or end up bankrupt. It's bonkers. Brits, in fact, took out over 1.6 billion in high cost credit. Now, the Financial Conduct Authority, the FCA, they surveyed this, and that was the figure back in 2024. Obviously, there isn't a figure for this year yet, but 1.6 billion in the last 12 months. That is incredible. You've got things like the less obvious things like fast food and cheap meal deals. So, for example, low nutrient food options, they dominate low income areas. You've got companies like Farm Foods or Iceland that specialize in frozen garbage, and they're always in low income areas. And the reason for that is they keep you basically dumb by giving you carbs. And yeah, you sort of microwave your way to greatness, or not, as the case may be. But the obesity crisis that it's contributing to saves corporations money. However, it costs the NHS 6.5 billion a year, and we wonder why the NHS is currently on its arse. Yeah, it's one of those. You've got subscriptions and things like buy now, pay later services. So obviously the main culprits that have become massive in the last 2 or 3 years, since COVID basically, since lockdown, are companies like Klarna, ClearPay, and also PayPal. But these fuel consumer debt. In fact, they don't just fuel it, they dump petrol on it. The total UK buy now, pay later debt is now over 10 billion. In fact, Citizens Advice Bureau, they put out a survey, and those results are from this year, 2025. Debt of over 10 billion. Work that out per person, 70 million people in the UK. That's still a very big number. Obviously, the biggest culprits here, and my personal bugbear, is with the energy companies. And I know in 2025, the Ofgem cap still leaves average bills sitting at around I think it's 1.6. So it's about 1,660-ish pounds a year. Mine isn't. My energy bill is about 2,700, 2,800 a year. And I'm with Utility Warehouse, which is considered to be quite a good supplier. In fact, my standing charges are around £420 a year before I've even used a unit. So work that one out. That's mental. And these absolute arses are, recording record profits all through 2024. Record profits, but 1 in 4 households are reporting energy hardship. So that's about 5 million homes in the UK, which again seems absolutely unsustainable. And it's no wonder that people that are suffering with these scourges like energy companies and, cheap, crappy fast food, it's no wonder these people are using buy now, pay later. They can't afford to bloody buy anything because their money's being taken off them at source by councils, mortgage companies and landlords and energy companies. And that brings us on, obviously, to private landlords and letting agencies. Now, I know a lot of people will put in the comments, oh, you're digging at private landlords. It's a business. They need to make money too. Of course they do. Absolutely. And I do not dispute that. However, for every good landlord you've got, there is one that's an absolute knobhead, pardon my French. And rents rose 9.2% UK-wide in the last year. That's the Office of National Statistics that put that out on a survey. Many landlords have paid off their mortgages years ago, and tenants basically still carry the cost. So yes, landlords do need to make money. Yes, they've got overheads. They're responsible for the upkeep, the maintenance, and everything else. But there's a fine line between making money and just pushing for the maximum rise that you can to make the most profit. It's balancing business versus greed. And it may not be true in your area. I know, for example, in my area, and again, you can go on Google, the average rent in my area, £1,271 a month. Whereas the average mortgage is around 800. So work that one out. You know what I mean? For the same size property, it's madness. It's absolute madness. And of course, landlords, there are good landlords out there. Absolutely, there are. I've rented probably for about 30 years of my life. I rented. And mostly I had brilliant landlords, and they were nice people. They were fair-ish with their rents. If there was a problem, you phoned them up and it got sorted and everything else. But I did have a couple that were awful, that were unscrupulous, that left me and my two kids in a house that had bacterial mold growing on the walls that you couldn't remove. And, like I say, it's not a dig at landlords, but they are in a market that's under scrutiny at the moment, and there are unscrupulous landlords out there. So what are your thoughts on this? What industries can you think of that profit from your poverty? I mean, I've just highlighted 5 there. There are, of course, others. But how does this affect you? I feel that the 5 that I've highlighted are probably relevant to most people. We all have interactions, I would have thought, with these types of industry. And yeah, I'm really interested to find out. So drop it in the comments, let me know. YouTube's going to put another video there. Maybe check it out. And another one tomorrow. Like, follow, subscribe. Goldman, peace out.